Guys, welcome to the sideboard here at the StarCityGames.com Players Championship. I'm Nick Miller alongside Kevin Jones. How you doing, sir?
How's it going?
Good to see you. Welcome to
You
Roanoke.
too. Thank you.
You, of course, are the Season 4 points leader, earning your invite to the Players Championship. Won the Standard Open the week after Khans of Tarkir was legal with Jeskai aggro.
Yep.
But you're playing a little something different here in Standard for the Players Championship. Let's take a look. Jeskai tokens. How'd you come to this deck, and why the switch?
Well, the Jeskai tokens deck was it was played by Yuya Watanabe at Worlds. He actually, I heard he had the deck months ago and somehow managed to hide it until Worlds. But regardless, it was most definitely the best deck for that event, and influenced the World Magic Cup as a result. And I still think it's the best deck in Standard. If it's facing a lot more hate. There's the main deck Doomwake Giants. There's more Whip of Ereboses. The format's getting a little hostile towards it, but nonetheless, I still chose to play it. And as you'll see, I did some different stuff to diversify my threat base a little bit.
Right. So your threats, of course, the token makers from the namesake. You got Hordeling Outburst and you got Raise the Alarm, along with Goblin Rattmaster, which will make plenty of tokens on its own. We'll move along here. Seeker of the Way. No surprise there, but we've got Mantis Rider, something from your Jeskai aggro deck, porting into this deck.
Yeah, so I chose to play 3 Mantis Riders. Was preparing with the Season 4 Invitational Champion Dylan Donegan, and we decided to play 3 Mantis Riders. We wanted to play 4. We had 4 in the deck and 3 Treasure Cruises and 4 Rabble Masters. It was 4-4-3. So the cuts for Mantis Rider were the 2 Chandras, the 4th Seeker, and the 4th Treasure Cruise. And then we decided that the 4th Treasure Cruise was too good because we were never boarding it out. Right. You always wanted to draw it. It was how you comboed when you hit Ascendancy and went totally crazy. So we put the Cruise back in at the cost of a Mantis Rider. Originally it was at the cost of a Rabble Master, but then we decided that Rabble Master is one of the best cards in the deck, and it's you can't cut that guy.
Right.
So and plus it's the Rabble Master is much easier on the mana. So we shaved 1 rider, and that's how we got to 3 riders. And it's really good against the green decks. It helps you diversify your threats. It's good against Doomwake Giant. They play Doomwake Giant, and you just attack them for 3 until they die, etc.
So you're looking for a more proactive threat than Chandra would be in this role.
Yeah, my experience with Chandra, it could have been, it was fine as a one-of in the Jeskai aggro deck in Jersey, and I played it a few times since then. But Chandra basically really good when you're really aggressive, and when you're flexible and less aggressive, it's not so good. And this is still an aggressive deck, but the cards that Chandra, both times I played Chandra in recent memory, my opponent just had Pelukrinos in play and just killed Chandra, and it was so frustrating. So I don't like Chandra as a result of that card being in the metagame, and I also didn't like the card advantage is really it's really hard to it's really hit or miss, it's really random. So I decided that I would go with Mantis Rider to be better against the green decks, and also good against Abzan, also good against pretty much anything, because they're not really keeping Crackling Doom in. Mardu's not keeping Crackling Doom in against you because of all the tokens, so the Mantis Rider is still good there, and a little weird against Anger, but this allows you to beat an Anger by pumping.
Jeskai Ascendancy on its own will help you beat many of the sweepers in the format, whether it be Bile Blight, Drown in Sorrow, Anger the Gods. 1 or 2 interactions from that, all your guys big enough to survive.
For sure.
Ascendancy, just the namesake combo part of the deck that just makes the deck really tick.
Yeah, this card is too good not to play at this point, especially with 8 token makers in the deck and all the burn spells. It's these are kind of at odds because they compete for the same slot, and you want to say when you build a Jeskai deck that you can't play both of them, that you have to pick one or the other, but I think it works fine together. I think the interaction with playing this card, then playing this card, having some tokens in play, casting a Stoke the Flames, and untapping your guy in response to 3 damage spell is a really cool interaction, and not everybody's going to fall for it or whatever, but it's still nice to have the option.
Right. Part of the value with the deck, of course, is having Stoke the Flames with Jeskai Ascendancy, so you basically get a free spell off your Ascendancy.
A free 4 damage spell that pumps your guys and makes combat a nightmare.
Right. Speaking of which, Stoke the Flames, 4 of course, Treasure Cruise, Lightning Strike, meat and potatoes this deck. You're killing stuff, you're drawing cards.
Yeah.
Moving forward, 2 Jeskai Charm. This card has been wavering in numbers. You just had 2. Still stuck with 2 here?
Yeah, it's one of the cards I sideboard out a lot, but I'm noticing that I've been watching, because I did play a ton with Jeskai aggro, and I did well in Jersey and did pretty well in Richmond with 2 different weirder Jeskai aggro deck in Richmond, but actually I was always able to sideboard into the control deck. That was always my plan, and we're not really doing that anymore. We're sideboarding in counter spells, but we're still staying as an aggressive deck, and because of that, I think I should be siding this card out less than I do. And I'm going to stay with 2, and I think keeping them at 2 post-board also is really important to the success of this deck.
Right, the +1/+1 lifelink mode, very important in the aggro matchups where you can just, along with an ascendancy, your guys get so big, so much lifelink at once, hard to pass up on this card.
I found myself with a handful of cards, and then behind on the board by 1 threat, and like they might have like a Doomwake that I can beat, and a Pelucranos that I can't, or whatever, one guy that I can beat and one guy that is just setting me back a little bit. And this is like, it allows you to end a turn, it makes combat a nightmare with Ascendancy, but it also allows you to put the guy on top and then, untap and do 2 things because you have 5 or 6 mana now. So it's good as like a reset button if you need it, and you do a lot of the time post board. So yeah, so that's why it stays at 2, and it's important.
Worst case scenario, just 4 damage.
Yeah, it kills a Planeswalker.
Mana base, pretty similar to what Yu was working with. Temples, Mystic Monastery, Shivan Reefs, Battlefield Forge. Why'd you choose this deck, in the metagame with, we saw Dylan win in the Invitational with this deck, despite a lot of hate with the Doomwake Giants, so it's obviously very resilient.
Well, I thought briefly, when thinking about what I was going to play for the tournament, I thought briefly about playing like a control deck, playing like a bunch of sweepers and stuff, and I decided that Dylan seemed pretty confident in the deck, and he said that he still liked it, and I said, I'm going to play Jeskai for this. So it's the most important tournament of the year, and it's the deck I've been doing well with all season. So I'm definitely going to play Jeskai, and this is the best Jeskai deck at the moment. You can't play Jeskai without Ascendancy. Even my results have been much better with the other 2 Jeskai aggro decks than they were with this deck. But I mean, I've only played a few tournaments and nothing huge with this deck. But anyway, this deck, you're just spoiled on Jeskai without Ascendancy. Once you played Ascendancy, you don't ever want to go back to not playing Ascendancy because the velocity is ridiculously high. You cast Treasure Cruise, you feel like you can't lose. It's awesome. This deck is extremely powerful.
It's just the most powerful thing you can be doing in Standard is Jeskai Ascendancy with Treasure Cruise, it seems like.
I think so. Someone would argue Whip of Erebos, Doomwake Giant, or that type of thing, or Whip of Erebos, Hornet Queen is more objectively powerful. But this is definitely the role I like to take as a player, for sure.
Let's skip through the basic lands here, and we're going to move on to the sideboard. The sideboard. Defiant Strike, Disdainful Stroke.
Defiant Strike, that's deep.
That's in the combo version of the deck. We're not running it here. This is for all of the things you're worried about in terms of Siege Rhino, Whip of Erebos, 4 copies, just absolute.
Yeah, there's the maximum copies of Stroke. It's the best card against all the green decks. It's good against control decks if anybody decides to bring that. As you can see, there's also erases here. And if we'll go farther on the slide, we're going to see 2 Hushwing Gryphs. But it's important to see the Gryphs because the Gryphs actually make it so you kind of have more than 4. The Gryphs and the erases make it so you have between 4 and 8 strokes. You're allowed to let one of their big haymakers resolve because you have an answer to it. So it makes the strokes really good in the fact that you shave some of the creatures post board against some of the green decks too. So it allows your Gryph to you leave up mana and they don't know which one is coming. Could be a Jeskai Charm, could be a Gryph, could be a Stroke, could be a Raise the Alarm, could be a different burn spell. It affords you a lot of flexibility there, and Gryph means you don't have to Disdainful Stroke a Doomwake, or you don't have to Disdainful Stroke a Siege Rhino, and you get to keep the Disdainful Stroke for that, or you get to keep the Erase for something else. So it makes the other reactive spells better, which is why it's there. And Sphinx, sorry, if you were going to lead in, you could lead in.
No, the Gryph, obviously a 2/1 body as well, but allows you to be more careful with your counter spells. So if they go for a sweeper of some kind, and into hostilities, that guy doesn't stop that.
Exactly. So yeah, this is...
Talk about the Prognostic Sphinx here.
Well, I was thinking about playing Wingmate Rock, but so Dylan suggested Sphinx because Yuya's Pro Tour Cons of Tarkir deck had Sphinx in the sideboard. It was just Jeskai aggro. A much more aggressive Jeskai aggro deck with Sphinx in the sideboard. And I think you want to be aggressive almost all the time with this deck. And like the decks you're not aggressive against are like mono red or that type of thing. And if you're not aggressive there, you're just winning because your Hordeling Outburst is worth more than one of their cards, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's not really the point. But against the decks that have a lot of removal, that are going to try to overload your threats with like Doomwag Giant, with Drown in Sorrow, with Anger the Gods, those type of things, the decks that are going to play those cards are they're going to take out their Heroes Impulse or Crackling Doom. They're going to take out they're not going to play End Hostility. It's too slow, and they know their stroke's coming. So this type of thing is going to be really effective. You can leave a land in hand, and then you can scry and hit your Treasure Cruise right away, and then go deeper and make your late game more effective. But this is also really good in the mirror because they can't kill it, and they probably don't board in stroke or not a high number of strokes. It's good with Ascendancy because you can protect it from removal and then play a spell, untap Sphinx and eat a guy.
Yep. Well, we've got the Sphinx. You got 2 more negates for counterspell action.
There's 1 negate.
Or one more negate, and then of course 2 more 1-ofs: Glare of Heresy and Reprisal.
Yeah. There's a negate. Just sometimes it's a 5th stroke. Sometimes it counters Anger or Drown. It's basically there. It's like a stroke that can sometimes counter a removal spell, and like these are like. Sometimes this is just a stroke. Sometimes this just hits Rhino to keep your stroke alive. Sometimes this just hits Sorin to keep your stroke alive. That type of thing. Like these are basically just flexible removal spells. Like I wanted this one because I was having nightmares about Pelukrinos over and over and over instead of 2 glares. Whereas like I think that like the erases help you with the Ascendancy, and you can just board it in the race against the mirror. It's okay. Like it's not great, but I'd rather have the Reprisal than the 2nd glare.
All right, well, the deck is sweet. We know you know your way around a Jeskai deck or two, so hopefully it performs well for you this weekend. Kevin Jones, thanks for joining me here on the sideboard.
Thank
for your
you,
standard
sir.
deck.
No problem. It was a pleasure.